and we are just about to get started here with question and answer with Bridgeway today. I'll go ahead and introduce a couple people, but before we do that, just want to know where you're watching from. So if you haven't let us know where you're watching from, I'd love to see that. For those of you who've already answered that question, we've been asking a really, not a deep question, but it's something that a lot of people are really excited or maybe even want to share with us, just why they're wanting to homeschool. We can imagine that some of those comments are related to something around COVID, but we really love to hear the individual circumstances. You don't have to write a book, but maybe a couple sentences would be good in the chat, just letting us know why you want to homeschool. It helps us understand all of the different families and the needs that we're seeing. And it may actually kind of turn into help answer us some of the questions that we have as well. So as you're doing that, we're just double checking a couple things, and we'll go ahead and introduce our two panelists today. We have an academic advisor with us. She works with families every single day. And she was just telling us about a couple different circumstances in New York and a family that she was working with, and how, the family came and was really unsure of what to do just to even get started homeschooling. And she was able to kind of calm her, give her the information she needed to get started. So I'll leave it at that, Lauren. You can share a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Singer, and I'm an academic advisor. I've been with Bridgeway now for almost 5 years. Before that, I was a high school teacher and dean of students. My background is in science and education. Really excited to have you guys here and answer all of your questions.
Thank you, Lauren. And we also have joining us Lisa Ott, who is our Director of Curriculum Development here at Bridgeway. She is an expert in all things curriculum. I'll let you share a little bit more about yourself, Lisa.
Thank you, Justin. Happy to be here as well this afternoon. I have had the pleasure of working as an academic advisor, as Lauren is doing now, serving families, setting you at ease about homeschooling, and then, of course, getting the best curriculum options in your hands for your kiddos. At Bridgeway Academy, we'll have a lot of information to share with you about the flexibility and the options that you do have to educate your child. So looking forward to sharing more information about our academy with you this afternoon.
So our goal, both here on the Zoom call with you and also on Facebook Live, where we're taking questions and trying to answer all the different things that you might be wanting to share with us today, is to make sure we get your questions, but also go through some of the FAQs that we get asked all the time. So we've got a couple of those prepared for the first few minutes, but if you have a question and you already want to jump in and ask that question, you can use the Q&A feature here in Zoom. We will record this and make sure that we can provide it to you after the presentation. But I wanted to kind of mention a couple of those things. If you ask a question in the chat, it might kind of get, I guess it's hard to see or keep track of them all. So if you're on Facebook Live, just leave a comment. If you're on the Zoom call, just go on the Q&A and drop your question in there, and we'll probably answer it pretty quickly and respond to those questions as fast as we can. As we get towards the end of the questions we've already prepared, that we get asked a lot, we may actually let you jump on the Zoom call with us and ask a question via audio. And we may do that by raising your hand or something like that. So it just depends on how long it takes us to get through a lot of the questions that we have here, but kind of be expecting that. So it looks like we have about 40 of you that have joined us right now. And I know several people more signed up, and I'm sure several are watching on Facebook as well. So happy to serve you, happy to work with the families that we have here today. A couple call outs about Bridgeway Academy really quickly for those of you who might be pretty new to this. Bridgeway Academy is a homeschool program, but we also serve families that are just wanting to take individual courses or wanting to just do a kit. So we have a lot of options. It's really all about flexibility and working with those families that need help to get them started in homeschooling, to get them to succeed in homeschooling and to thrive even beyond the homeschool classroom or beyond high school and into college as well. So Bridgeway is accredited globally, and we have students in all 50 states and over 65 foreign countries. So as you think about, are other people doing this, or is Bridgeway well known? The answer to both of those questions is yes. We did receive first place in homeschool.com's all-in-one homeschool curriculum. It's interesting with that award, actually, just because we offer so many different curriculum options. But that's kind of leads to, why we're so great from the homeschooling perspective, is because we don't stick you with one specific option. We help customize and curate an experience for you based on your students' learning style, personality style, and a host of other factors. For instance, that Lauren may work with a family and customize their academic solution to each child. So really great to have so many of you join us for this live Q&A. This is something we're kind of testing out, hoping to help as many families that need that immediate help as we can. We're getting a lot of phone calls these days, and we're working through a lot of messages on Facebook and different things where families are interested and wanting to know more. So for those of you who are ready to ask that question, go ahead and just type the questions in the Q&A feature on Zoom or on the comments on Facebook Live, and we're going to do our best to answer those right away as soon as they come in, or we may save one to answer it live. So I see at least 4 of them come in already. I think 3 of them from a question perspective, but we're going to go ahead and jump right into questions we know families are asking right now. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the question and then turn it over to Lauren or Lisa, depending on what the question is, for them to answer that question. So first up, we've heard this recently. I think you were talking about this today, Lauren. How do I enroll my child from their current school and start homeschooling?
Absolutely. Thank you, Justin. So the first thing I recommend is you want to find that place that you're going to homeschool, and Bridgeway is a great place for that, obviously. So first thing you want to do is you want to enroll with Bridgeway. Find the current package that you want to go with: textbook, online, live. Then you want to contact your end up being your previous school, whether that be public, private. Contact them, ask to speak with the counselor or the registrar. They're going to most likely ask for an enrollment verification letter, which is simply a letter that Bridgeway provides. All advisors can put it together for you. And it's basically a letter where we say that your student is enrolled with Bridgeway Academy, that they are going to be on track for the current school year. We also say what year they're going to be in, that we are an accredited homeschool, and then you would send that to that school. They would then withdraw your student from that specific school. After that is complete, then you switch back over to the Bridgeway side and you are going to start your homeschool process. So you're going to meet with your advisor. You're going to go over any classes that the student has taken. You're going to go over, why are you homeschooling? What kind of learner your student is? Do they need to be in an environment where they need to meet with a teacher, or do they need to be on a self-paced program where they are more independent? You're going to go over all those things with your advisor. And then the advisor helps work with you to select classes and to, get your books to you if needed. And then the process is very smooth from then on out. We'll set a start date and then you'll start going.
Awesome, Lauren. That's a really detailed answer.
Sorry.
That's awesome. No, I think that's tremendous. That's just what people need. They want the information in a detailed way. So thank you for sharing that. How do I learn more about my state's homeschool laws? I'm also going to ask Lauren that question as well, because she works with families to help identify what those state laws are. And so many of you are from the US, so I think this is specifically applicable. But if you could also kind of highlight what we do tell families for international homeschooling as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really popular question. I probably get this question at least once a day from my families that come in and that I start chatting with. So the first thing is, Bridgeway helps you stay on track with all of your state law requirements. We also have a web page on our website that's going to go over every state, and it's going to tell you exactly the laws and the steps that you would follow to stay in good graces with your current state. The nice thing is too, once you start working with your advisor, when we're putting together classes, we always make sure that all the classes that we are putting together align with your homeschool state laws. You can also reach out to hslda.com. That website will also give you any homeschool laws with your 50 states. But Bridgeway, honestly, we really do all of it for you. We help you stay on track. We send you emails letting you know when things are going to be needed by your state, whether it be a portfolio or a report card, an enrollment verification letter that I was currently talking about. Sometimes you'll have to send that to your state. For example, I worked with a student this morning from New York. New York is a very strict state when it comes to homeschool laws. So what we do, and what I do as an advisor and every other advisor at Bridgeway, what we do for those families is once we get the curriculum and the classes put together, we'll get an enrollment verification letter, and then we'll also provide the family with documentation showing the classes and course descriptions, and we help them complete the paperwork for their state. So, for example, the New York State page is called an IHIP form, but we help you fill that out, put it together, so that way nothing is missed. And then, as like I said, throughout the year, we send emails and we follow up with phone calls to help you stay on track. That is pertaining to specifically the 50 states. I have a number of international families as well. So one thing, depending on where you are, the first thing you always want to do is reach out to your local education department, whether that be district, state, county, even internationally. Your embassy sometimes may be able to answer some questions, depending on where you are. So you want to reach out to them and find out exactly what they're looking for. For example, I have a current student in the UAE, and we needed to provide enrollment verification letter again, showing accreditation, exactly, the school that we are, what we offer. And then we also provided them with the courses, we provided them with descriptions and exactly what the curriculum that's the student would be taking. So that was a nice thing, but always reach out to your local, like I said, Department of Education. Sometimes they're going to ask for an apostilled transcript or an apostilled report card, and we also help you get that together as well.
Perfect. I did want to call out, as the questions come in, just a reminder to use the Q&A feature on Zoom. It allows us to really stay organized and make sure that we get your question answered and not lose them. So I know there are a few questions that have come in chat. If you wanted to copy and paste them over to the Q&A, that would be really helpful. We'll try to also watch the chat, but sometimes that can get put towards the back. So I'm going to call out one quick question that I saw Kim ask that really pertains to this, and then we'll pivot back into some of the questions that we've got going here for Bridgeway. She says, in California, they're required to keep attendance. How does Bridgeway keep and track and store this information? Lauren, I'll ask you.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple different ways. If your student is an online student, we keep track of when your student logs in, when they log out, how much time they were online, and we can put together a report that way. If your student is a textbook student, we provide you with the paperwork to put together so that you're able to, keep track Monday through Friday or Sunday. And on that document, you will provide the dates and you'll check off each day that your student completes their coursework. At the end of the semester or year, we put that together in your portfolio, and then we help you submit it to the state.
Awesome, Lauren. Thank you. All right. Up next, we're going to talk about accreditation. And the first question on here is your homeschool program accredited? I think that's a great question. And does it matter? Lisa, I'm going to pivot this one over to you.
Absolutely. And this is a great question. And it comes up a lot during our virtual open houses, families just kind of seeking to understand what homeschooling really is and a best solution for you. We are an accredited academy. And what that means is that we have to actually submit documentation about the curriculum that our students are utilizing, and of course, the success that our students are experiencing in their homeschool programs. We go through an accreditation process every about 3 to 5 years to earn that accreditation. And we keep a lot of documentation on how we do business. In other words, how we serve families and support those families, just as Lauren described, from the time that you enroll through that enrollment period on through the end of that enrollment period. So that accreditation means a lot to us. What it may mean for you is that at the end of an enrollment period, your student does receive that accredited report card, accredited transcript, so that you can take that with you either to a new educational program or obviously for students graduating on to showcase for that college application as well. So it is something we are very proud of, and it is something that people really want that assurance of in their homeschool program. It really does define the program that you receive from our academy.
And there are several organizations we are accredited through. You can find them on our website. It's one of our most visited pages of our website. I believe if you Google top online accredited programs or homeschools, online schools, we come up at the top because we've been here a long time and we've been doing this. So we're accredited through Cognia, which also includes things like advanced ed, and you may see that terminology, and some of it gets really education specific, but also the Pennsylvania Department of Education as well. But that Cognia accreditation is an international and recognized accreditation. So the next question is, will my child still be able to get into college if they homeschool? And Lauren is a high school academic advisor, so I think this is a great question for her.
Short answer to this question, absolutely. I have students go to many different types of school, four-year schools. I have them go to international universities, community college, technical schools. Really, absolutely, yes, the answer is yes. I've had students who have attended for sports, NCAA, they've played sports in college. I've had students go for dance, honestly, anything. So yes, the short answer is absolutely. And the high school advisors help work with you if you are a high school family to help apply to those schools, get the transcripts to them, add those SAT, ACT scores to your transcripts. We help with that process as well.
Awesome, thank you, Lauren. Gina asks in the Zoom Q&A here, the evaluations are academic, but also to determine learning style. How do you cater to the different learning styles when the textbooks and online classes are the same for all students? Lisa, I'm going to go ahead and ask that question to you.
Yes, that's a great question. I saw it in the chat and I wasn't sure how to explain because I really just wanted to tell you everything about what we do here at Bridgeway Academy. So as Lauren's talking about that academic advisor experience and that support, that's really where we thrive. We want to know who your kiddo is. We want to know what the goal for your homeschooling program is. And we want to provide your student with curriculum that's going to be exciting and of course meet those academic needs, but also the needs that your student presents in the way they take information in, the way they learn. So we don't just deliver one curriculum. We actually work with many publishers. And the reason we do that is so that we can customize those curriculum options and really deliver to you a fit that's going to be great for your child and one that's supporting you in that homeschool endeavor as well. So we do really consider the programs for math that are more hands-on, and we want to offer those curriculum pieces to those students who really need that type of learning experience. And we also consider online and other programs that maybe are more suitable for an auditory learner or a visual learner. And those conversations that happen between the academic advisor and you really play out to kind of finalize where those curriculum pieces land and which is the best curriculum fit for your child. And it may be a combination of online curriculum and textbook curriculum, or maybe a live class that your child's receiving direct instruction from. So those are the options that we do provide at Bridgeway Academy. So it's not just a one size fits all. And you'll even find that within some of the publications that we've created that go along with our curriculum, you're going to find prompts that really do talk to those various learning styles. So an opportunity to take in a math concept, maybe in a bit of a different way than that curriculum publisher has offered it in the textbook. So we want to provide those resources for your child and then for you, of course, so that learning is successful.
Fantastic. I do have a question for Lauren from Facebook Live, just before we jump over to talk more about socialization, which is a topic most homeschooling parents get questions about or have questions about. The question's from Shiloh. She says, how do I make sure my senior gets the right math needed for graduation?
Absolutely. So when you enroll, the advisor will ask for a transcript. We're going to look at every course that your student has taken. We're also going to look at the courses that are required by your state, also for Bridgeway graduation. So say your student has taken Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. Well, then we're going to place them in, say, a pre-calculus course. But we always look at the courses that the student has taken before. And we make sure that they are steadily on track, continuing to progress as they continue. But we always look at that first, and then we meet with the family to distinguish if it's a more rigorous course, say pre-calculus, or if the student needs to take maybe a consumer math or financial math. But if you provide the transcript for the advisor, we go based on that, and we work with you as the family to pick the course.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. So I'm going to skip over to talking about socialization next. Lisa, the first question's for you. How can my kids get socialization if they homeschool?
Yeah, great question. And actually, this is one of the most asked questions to a homeschooling family, and as well as in our virtual open houses. And at Bridgeway Academy, we really understand that this is a concern for families, and making sure that your child is getting an experience similar maybe that they would at that brick and mortar school setting. And at Bridgeway Academy, in our live classes, we do really devote time to building that collaborative learning environment. So in a live class, your student will of course have that live teacher to conversate with and have interactions with, but then also a peer group of students that are offering content, discussions, and feedback throughout those live classes to build that collaborative learning environment. And then we also offer a lot of fun stuff throughout the year to really build up our school. So we have opportunities. Lauren, you've probably volunteered to do a couple of these fun sessions. Last year, we had so many scheduled where families were just having their kids come to these sessions and share who their pet was at their house and share and do an art activity with one of our academic advisors. So we offer those types of activities. I think we've got so many planned for this next year because we know we want this to be a valuable learning experience for your student. We want you to feel that you're part of an academy and part of a group of learners and homeschoolers. And then we can also provide some guidance on how to be more involved in your community outside of that school setting. There are so many ways for you to become involved in your community as well as in our school academy too as an enrollment that you may not have even thought about, but we of course are used to talking with families about and providing some guidance on.
So you answered it with some of this answer to this, but I'll also ask Lauren, is there any other homeschool socialization opportunities that Bridgeway provides?
Yeah, absolutely. So Lisa touched base a little bit on this. We do offer a wide array of activities. We have meetups where students can get online and meet students in their grade levels, say middle school, elementary, high school. I actually hosted some high school meetups, as Lisa mentioned, and we were able to get online. We all met, we chatted for a little bit, got to know each other. We played bingo one day, another day we did a trivia game. It's really nice to get to know your other students in high school or in middle school. We had a great time, lasts for about an hour. We also have clubs that students can join, elementary, middle, and high school. It ranges from your favorite thing. You can, show your favorite thing, favorite movie, all the way to speech and debate, book club. We offer those activities for students to meet other students. We think that it's extremely important to be a well-rounded student, that you need to do certain things like that. You can also, we have a number of students who will get together, say from a live online class. I've had students that have met another student in a class and they've gotten together online and done homework together via Zoom. They were chatting and they did homework together. We offer, there's a Spirit Week where students are able to get involved. You can take different pictures, put it on our Facebook page, send it to your class, to your teachers, your advisor. You can also get on your advisor's homeschool or homeroom page, not homeschool, homeroom page. And I chat with my students there. A lot of advisors do. We chat about where we're from, what we like to do. So yes, we absolutely offer a wide array of socialization opportunities. And there's, a lot that you can do outside of Bridgeway too, that we're able to help navigate and find that process for you.
I forgot one thing because the last year I was so involved with the coffee chats that we had with some of the moms and dads. So it wasn't even just about just your student being socialized. It was about supporting the parents and grandparents and others that were at home working with the kiddos. And it was joy just to have a very relaxed setting, pull people together, talk about their experiences, any pain points, things that they wanted to get some assistance with, and of course, celebrate together. So we do have ongoing activities for the adults in the audience as well.
Yeah, coffee chats are very popular, Lisa. They were great.
Awesome. Thank you guys for answering that question. Before we jump over to talking about how to choose the best program, I wanted to call out one of our Facebook comments from Lorelei. She says, what are the criteria for earning a unit through the records and transcription service. I would imagine that's the records and support program that we offer here at Bridgeway. I'm trying to understand just how flexible that is. I think that's probably a great question for either of you, but I know Lauren works with families every single day on this, so I'll pivot on this to her.
Absolutely. So for our record keeping and support students, if you're going to take a course through an outside Bridgeway course, what we do is we have you complete our course approval form. And what we look for is for a half credit in a course, it's 60 hours of instruction. And for a full credit, it's 120 hours. When you fill out that form, send it to the advisor will go over it with you, make sure that all the topics and content are being covered in that course. Sometimes I've even had students come in, say with 60 hours or a half credit of an English course. And I was able to help them find that second half of that course by adding some literature, or adding a few other things to make it that full 120 hours to provide that one full credit for the year.
Thank you so much.
I think that answers the question.
Awesome. So Lauren, I'm going to ask you the first question here. How do I know which program will be the best fit for my child? Honestly, I'm sure every parent has this question. We have a lot of options. We're really flexible. Sometimes that can be a little bit nerve-wracking. Like, what do I choose? How would a parent go about choosing the best program?
Yeah, so we definitely have a lot of different options, which is a great thing. But also when you're coming into it, as a parent, it is a little scary. You're like, okay, does my student, a textbook student, are they going to be online? Can they work, with a lot of things going on around them? Can they work, do they need to be in a very quiet, independent area? So one thing that we do have, and I really like it, and I think it's great, and I really would like and hope that all of my students and even parents to take, is our learning style assessment. And it's a very short survey questionnaire that we have students. And like I said, I would love for parents to take it as well, but it helps provide us with the information to figure out and to determine what kind of learner your student is. It will help us determine if they're an auditory learner, if they're a kinesthetic learner. Do they need a workbook instead of a large textbook? Do they need an online class, or maybe a couple online classes and a couple textbook classes? But that learning style assessment is going to really help determine what kind of student your child is. Once we figure out what the kind of learner your child or student is, then as an advisor, we sit down and we go, okay, your student loves computer. Let's do a little mix of computer classes with some textbook classes, because they need those visuals, they need the reading. I think that when you combine that learning style assessment with the advisor and getting to know the student, put them together, and then we're able to really determine the best program for your student. And the nice thing is too, as Lisa mentioned, it is our job to make sure that we create that individualized learning experience for the families, and we're able to customize some of the curriculum. We're able to put different publishers together, say for a textbook program. So we're able to figure out the best program that fits your child that way.
Thanks, Lauren. So Lisa, I'm going to ask you, what are the benefits of using a homeschool partner as opposed to just doing homeschooling by themselves?
Yes, super question. I'm going to go back to my advising days, as Lauren is actively serving families. And the benefit is definitely for those new to homeschool. I'm going to be here and be your support for you as an academic advisor. And that I'm not kidding around. It is getting on the phone with the families and talking them through the shipment of curriculum that just appeared at their doorstep, and saying, okay, where do I start? How do I get started with my kiddo? How do I get my student really engaged in their math program? It's brainstorming together the situations that you're faced with as a homeschool instructor. It is for those seasoned homeschoolers, talking about some variety of curriculum, maybe going about the curriculum program and your homeschooling program in maybe a different bit of a way, or maybe you're now in high school and you want that accreditation more than ever, and you want the support of an academy that is accredited. We are here to serve the families. Bridgeway Academy was founded over 30 years ago, simply to make this an option for families. And that's what we exist for today as well. And we want those initiatives and that endeavor to be successful no matter what. And it starts with that relationship with the academic advisor, That academic advisor that's going to walk you through those difficult days and celebrate with you when there's celebrations to be had. Is going to assist you with that curriculum and your students' learning program, provide additional resources and ideas, again, to make that content come to life for your student. And as Lauren said, they're going to be walking alongside you every step of the way. If that's something that you desire, that's the best fit for our academy. It's somebody that wants that support, is looking for somebody that's on the other side of the phone, on the other side of the email that's being sent, that's going to respond with empathy, compassion, knowledge, first of all, and of course that caring opportunity to make sure that you get what you need to have that successful experience.
Fantastic answer, Lisa. Another question that we get asked a lot is often followed up by the phrase, but I'm not a teacher. How can I work full-time and homeschool my child? Because I am not a teacher. Lauren, I'm going to go ahead and have you answer this one and turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So short answer, absolutely. The nice thing that Lisa mentioned, and I've mentioned it too, is we walk with you every step of the way. Whether your student is an online student, they're going to have the course content needed all online. We're also going to provide you with instructor guides, a parent handbook, how to go through things. We're also going to do that with textbook students. Some of our classes live online, or whether they're elite online classes, they have teachers attached with them as well. So absolutely, we provide all of the resources that you need. If there isn't a resource that you aren't provided, we always try to make sure to find that resource to help you. But absolutely, a large number of my families, both parents work full-time. Students are doing their coursework, whether it be online or their textbooks. The parents, like I said, still work full-time. So absolutely.
Thank you, Lauren. The next question is, I don't have a teaching background. How will I know what to teach? And I think this depends on program, Lisa, but as we look at, customizing a solution, it might be something where you are doing some of the teaching, or it might not be. I'll let Lisa answer the specifics here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback on what Lauren had said, what we've found is that families that have two working adults and you are homeschooling, you have the flexibility in your day to be present and helping and walking alongside your child, maybe at a different time than what the school day would typically look like. And that's sometimes, not something you think about off the cuff, right? So homeschooling does allow for that flexibility, and your time with your student may not be a typical school day. It is important, of course, to have that support for your student. And what we provide in our products through our academy are those teaching tools. So at Bridgeway Academy, we're not going to just ship off to you that Saxon math program. We were chatting with someone in the chat about Saxon math, and we do have that as one of our offerings as part of our curriculum programs. But you're not just going to get the off-the-shelf kit in the box. What we've created to go along with that publication is an instructor guide that walks you and your student day by day through that coursework. And it will provide your student with some independence to know what to complete each day. It will provide you as that teacher, even without that teaching background, an understanding of what to expect from your student. And then along with that publication, we provide instructor prompts. And we say within those prompts, your student may understand this concept by getting some hands-on materials and doing this and that with it. Or you may have to provide a little more additional practice for your student, and here's some extra practice. So that's what we mean by supporting you in this homeschool endeavor. We don't just give you those student materials and say good luck. We know that many of you are not teachers out there, but you want this for your student and you want to have success and of course support for your student. So we're providing you with those tools to make that happen. We understand that those tools are necessary. I'm a teacher. I have a teaching background. I've created a lot of these resources myself. But during COVID, as I'm guiding my own student through an online program here at home, we had to go through and kind of learn about how his learning style matched what he was seeing on the computer and how he could take notes to be successful. So that guidance was something we did together. And it didn't always have to be during that, of course, that work time or that school period. It was when we could do that together each day.
Thanks, Lisa. Okay, on to children with learning challenges. This is questions we get asked quite often. We do have answers for many of them, but one of the first questions that I wanted to cover quickly is, if my child has an IEP, can they attend Bridgeway Academy? Lisa, these questions will probably both go to you because I know you work closely with this specific program.
Yeah, of course. Some people were asking about the HOPE program, which we could highlight quickly here as well. But your student has been provided an IEP or potentially a 504 plan. In other words, in a typical educational experience, your student may need some accommodations, maybe some extra time to take a test, or maybe have that test read aloud to him or her to have them be successful in responding, or maybe even that presentation material has to happen in a certain way. While we're not going to collect a copy of that IEP or potentially distribute curriculum to your student in a certain way according to that IEP, those are valuable pieces of information that we would be taking, as Lauren said, during that intake call with your advisor. Those are things that you would want to share with your academic advisor or a live teacher that is presenting information to your student in that direct instruction, so that we understand your student and we can best serve you as well as that student in their learning environment. So that is how we do handle those IEP and 504 plans. We want to know how we can best serve you and support you, and of course your students' learning program. And for those students that do come to us with learning challenges, that's where that customization of curriculum really comes into play. And of course, those conversations and relationship that builds with the academic advisor. Those learning challenges can be so very different from one student to another. But with a flexible homeschooling program, you have options for how your student is assessed. You don't have to have your student sit down and take a multiple choice test and try to figure out what everything says on that test. You can read that test aloud to your student. We allow for that. We even encourage some alternative ways to assess your student, and it might be building a project or doing a presentation versus completing a more formal assessment. Those are areas of flexibility that we feel we can meet students that maybe have some learning challenges or maybe opportunities that are interfering with their learning. We do have a HOPE program that provides an opportunity for your child to really be diagnosed to find out how they process information in that learning environment. You know, students are taking in information by hearing things and seeing things, and then of course processing that information cognitively. And sometimes those processing skills are a bit delayed. So our HOPE program provides a diagnostic to find out if that is interfering with your students' learning, and provides that therapy, that daily opportunity to practice those skills to help them in turn become better students, better learners, and make it easier for them. So hopefully that answers some of the questions that came up in the chat as well.
So the answer to, do you support students with learning challenges? Absolutely. And I don't know that we need to spend any more time on that one specifically, but I think you did such a great job at answering that question, Lisa. I did see a couple questions, I think from Shamika and one other, asking about wait lists. Does Bridgeway have a wait list right now? Currently, we do not have a wait list in general for our academy or independent study programs. We can get your order taken and processed today, get your enrollment moving, get you connected with an advisor like Lauren immediately. There's usually a day or two processing time for several of the things. Of course, curriculum would be sent if you have curriculum in your program. But in terms of specific live classes, there have been a few live classes we've had to close because they're full. And we have had to add new sections of programs and classes as well. So just keep that in mind. August 30th is our class start date for our live classes, and we're not accepting students anymore on September 3rd. That date might move forward, but it's not going to move backwards. Meaning if we fill up faster, we may have to close earlier. But that's just for those live programs. Most of our academy programs actually are non-live programs. So our blended programs, our self-paced online programs, all of those things can be done as part of Bridgeway Academy, and they're not necessarily constrained to that time period. Now, we also know that school districts, COVID, and homeschooling is all trending up, I guess, if you can say it that way, in terms of people being interested in homeschooling, school districts having issues, and COVID becoming a problem more and more places across the country. Again, no one wants that, but here we are. So all of those factors will play into a lot of families considering homeschooling. And the more families that choose us, the harder it is to maintain that level of excellence. And so we are going to focus on that excellence throughout the process. And if there are times when we have to stop taking students, it will be because of that, not because we don't want more students at Bridgeway, but because we want you guys to have a great experience across the board. So just wanted to call out those two things before we jump into a question that we get asked quite frequently right now. We have one more slide of advising questions, this slide, and then we're going to just do the free-for-all questions in the Facebook side of things, questions that are coming in here in Zoom, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. We may have you raise your hand if you want to ask a question out loud, and we'll unmute you. But for right now, first question up is, can I enroll in your live programs for just a semester, or do I have to enroll for the full year? And I think this is a really great question because we are hearing this quite often on the phones from our admissions team. So I'm going to go ahead and answer it. As of right now, our full programs are really the only option. We like to keep those classes together. So when you have families leave at the middle of the year, you may have a class that goes down by 10 or 15 students. And we really like to make sure that that whole class is a cohesive unit. We will likely open up some seats at our mid-year point, but many families are choosing to just enroll for the full year, take care of that payment upfront or even over the 10-month payment plan, and just see what happens, because no one is really sure what's going to be the situation November, December, January either. But that is a great question we're getting asked. As of right now, you do enroll for the full year with Bridgeway Academy, and that's mainly for blended live or live online programs. The rest of our Academy programs, you are able to select half year as well. So another question that we get asked is, can I easily transfer my child back to school, public school, or even a private school for that matter, next year? And I'm going to go ahead and shoot that one over to Lisa.
Yeah, absolutely. So through our academy, we're going to provide you the documentation that's necessary to show how your student made progress in each of those content areas, any electives that they have taken. And that will take place obviously on that report card, that accredited transcript. And even many times our advisors write letters of recommendation or a summary of what that student experienced during the school year to easily transition back to that public school. My student last year stayed home and did some online curriculum as a homeschooling program, and then got a little nervous about thinking about going into school that next year. And she actually transitioned back into a 9th grade program in the public school as a 9th grader, using her credits that she had earned through Bridgeway Academy, easily transitioned back to that high school setting, kind of picked up where she left off in her homeschool setting, and transitioned very easily. No questions asked by the district. That accredited transcript just followed her transitioning into that setting.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot to the last slide we have here of questions that we're getting frequently. And I think probably Lauren is the best person to answer the question. What is the role of an advisor at Bridgeway? How do they help me?
Absolutely. So our role is to walk through every step of the process with you. We are there for you to cry, shoulder to cry on. We're there for you to laugh with. We're there to help you choose the best courses for your student. We're there to help you with colleges. We're there to, you can probably hear my child crying upstairs. We're here for everything, help you individualize and customize your content. We are there to, honestly, to really make this process easier for you. We are there to individualize it for you. We want to make sure that your homeschool experience is the most positive one, and it's our job to make sure that we provide resources for students, for family, parents, grandparents. I have students call me all the time to ask very simple questions. Where do I submit this? Or a parent going, okay, I have no idea this course is pre-calculus and I've lost my mind looking at it, and I'm not a math person. So I have the resource to help you get there. We are really that person that is going to make sure that is a very smooth process for you, that you feel supported, that the student feels supported, and that your process with Bridgeway and in your homeschool is the best that it can be to make sure that your student is learning and retaining that information. And if for some reason a course isn't, to help you what course will be best for your student. So the short answer is we are your support system, and we are there to make sure that we're going to hold your hand through every step. In the long version, that's what we're there for.
Awesome, Lauren. I think you glitched there at the end. I think one of the things you said was, if a course isn't working, that we'll find a course that does, and help customize that curriculum as well, which I think is a huge relief on a lot of families, because they want to make a decision, but then they're worried about, well, what if that decision doesn't work out? Like, what flexibility is there? Well, Bridgeway allows you to choose another option if something's not working for you, which a lot of other homeschool providers or schools aren't going to do. Not until next semester, or not until next year, right?
Right. And the thing is as an advisor, we know that every student is different. They're not all going to learn the same way. They're not all going to be able to, only work with one curriculum and one publisher or an online class. So it's our job to make sure that we customize that experience for them, to make sure that it's individualized, and to help accommodate any need that they have.
Thank you. How long does it take to receive a response from your average family, Lauren? I don't know. I said Lauren, sorry. How long does it take to receive a response?
Absolutely. So we try to respond to all emails within 24 to 48 hours. Phone calls, same as well. On the weekends, we don't work on Saturdays and Sundays, so it might be a tad longer on the weekends, but 24 to 48 hours is always our max.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're on to the part of the Q&A where we're taking more of your questions and answering your questions specifically, and we'll be here for as long as you have questions. So I'm hoping not to be here later than 5 Eastern time, but that's just a joke. I'm sure Lisa's like, I have other things to do. But I appreciate all of you for staying with us, and we'll get into your questions. I do see several people that say, would you like our admissions team, that say, I'd like to follow up with somebody. How does that process work? We have a really great admissions team. They take questions from families all day long, and they're mainly there to help answer those questions at the initial point, and then get started and get ready to purchase and enroll you in a program. And then once you've enrolled in one of those academy programs that comes with an advisor, then you're transitioned over to your academic advisor, who's going to help you finish and go through your whole school year. For independent programs, you don't have an advisor that comes with you. So if you only buy one class, or just a grade level kit, or just a self-paced course, that doesn't come with an advisor. So just to kind of clarify a couple of those things for you as you get started. But I am going to launch a poll, and I'll just leave this up for the rest of the time we're talking here. Would you like one of our admissions team members to follow up with you? I know I saw one person say that. How do I do that? We'll actually take care of it for you. So, we'll get something in our system that says for our admissions team to follow up with you. You probably already have an admissions person already set up for you. So we'll get that taken care of. But here we are transitioning over to taking those questions. And I know we've got a lot of questions in Zoom. We've answered a lot of them already. And we've also answered a lot of questions on the Facebook side of things as well. So I'm going to start going from the top. An anonymous attendee asked, can we select a monthly plan, attend until our country eventually goes virtual, and join them instead of continuing here? It's a great question. And from a flexibility perspective, we wish we were able to kind of allow that and transition. But at this time, no. If you enrolled in our program from a payments perspective and from an academy perspective, it would, from the payments perspective, you are going to be required to pay in full, whether you're still in the program or not. So you definitely can leave. But the payment side of things will still be in effect and be required. As far as supporting you, so say your school went virtual mid-year, we have families that do go with us, and as long as we can take a transcript and make sure that we provide you with that information mid-year, we can set you up for success in that new program if you wanted to go with the remote learning option. But just to clarify, that the payment side would still be expected as well. So, and another anonymous attendee, I think Lisa, you're actually answering that one, so I'll let you answer that one. Arena asks, how can I enroll my child in both kit level and independent study live classes? Lauren, is that something you think you could answer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to make sure I'm understanding this question. I believe when you're saying a kit level, we're going to go with a blended kit or a grade level kit, or potentially a textbook package, and independent study live. So we can definitely customize different packages. I have some students who take, say, 2 or 3 full year live online classes, but they're also taking the rest of their classes through self. through self-paced online classes. I also have students that are doing 2 or 3 full year textbook students and the rest online. So we can definitely mix and match and customize that package for you.
Thank you, Lauren. I'll let you go back on mute there. Somebody asked, how much is the school for independent study? I think that's a great question. I think we probably can put a link to a really great pricing page in the chat for all of you. It should take you to our independent study and academy. So for those of you manning the backside of the webinar, if you want to just drop the link to the pricing page of the website, that'll break down a lot of the costs. It really varies so much that if we were to talk cost on here, it would just get crazy. So it's really helpful for a family to look at, okay, this is the grade level. This is all of my options within that grade level, both independent and academy. The page does a really great job of laying that out, even talking through those payment plans, which I know several people are probably very interested in because it fits their family needs. So just kind of giving you that heads up, that would be the best place to find independent study options. And that would range, I mean, if you're doing full classes, your live classes are going to be $200, $300, or $400 a piece for those live classes. But if you're looking to do just a textbook grade level kit, that might be somewhere between $600 and $900. And it just depends on the specific grade level, on the program that you choose. And on the lower level, it depends on whether your student is a auditory learner, for instance, or tactile, kinesthetic, I believe. They like to touch and feel things, or if they are a watcher, which is they're obviously consuming media or information visually. So that is kind of the guardrails for that question. Lisa, I'm going to turn this one over to you. Ashley asked, can you expand on the records and support option? Does the advisor still assist with staying within state laws? Does this option include support for any curriculum that is used, even those outside of those who are partners with Bridgeway?
It definitely goes beyond what Bridgeway distributes. The most important thing, as Lauren had, I think, spoken about prior in the conversation, is that we do ask for you to submit a course approval form. So that just shares with you, your advisor, more information about the curriculum, the comprehensive nature of the curriculum, especially at the high school level. Is it credit worthy? Those types of pieces of information are really very valuable. And then, of course, your academic advisor is going to walk alongside you to understand what your state requirements are, to ensure that if you have to take a health class in high school to graduate within your state, then you have that knowledge, and you have of course, the source to make sure that your child is getting what they need for those requirements. So we do work with a lot of families that use different programs, but there really has to be an avenue for you to share the assessments that your student is completing throughout the school year, so that that advisor has some visibility of how your student is doing, and of course can support you and then provide those records and that support for you. Does that answer the question, Lauren? You're nodding. If you have anything else to add, go for it.
No, you hit it right on the head. You're good.
So Jessica Shepard asked a question, but she also had her hand raised. So I'm not sure if this is the same question, Jessica, but we'll go ahead and ask this here in a minute. I'll try to transition over to letting you talk live. Question for the records and support package. In Canada, we do 8 credits a year. Is that possible to do with Bridgeway? And is there a list of approved curriculum that can be accredited? We already have our curriculum chosen. So Lauren, I'll pivot that one over to you, since Lisa just talked a little bit about records and support. We'll turn it back over to you.
Justin, I'm sorry, you were breaking up. Were you pulling it over to me or Lisa?
I'm sorry, Lauren, it was you.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. So yes, absolutely. At Bridgeway, we go around 7 credits. However, I have a large number of students that live in Canada, and they do have 8 credits. So yes, completely understand that. And yes, we go with what exactly is going on where you live. So the first question, yes. Second question, is there a list of approved curriculum? We absolutely have a list of curriculum that we use within Bridgeway, whether that be secular or Christian curriculum, and publish. We follow this, obviously. If you already have your curriculum chosen, that's great.
Hey, Lauren.
When you start, yeah.
Can you go back like 5 seconds? I think you said Christian secular curriculum, and then it glitched.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been you, might have been me, I'm not sure, but I want to make sure they heard it.
Yeah, of course. So we do have a list of courses, not courses, but publishers, curriculum that we use that are accredited, whether it be secular or Christian. And we can absolutely provide that list. And if you already have your classes chosen, that is completely okay. I have a large number of students come to me already that already have them chosen. And so if you do, you would go over them with your advisor. To be honest, most of the time they are completely okay. Everything is approved. If there's ever a time where they're lacking something, I always try to provide a little extra resource, whether it's through, say, our LFango or something to kind of add in a little bit more enrichment to make it a full 1 credit course to approve it. But I hope that answers your question. Yes, we provide the approved current. We can provide a list, and yes, it's okay if you have it already chosen.
All right, Jessica, you raised your hand a minute ago. Jessica Shepard, I went ahead and allowed you to speak. So if you'd like to ask another question that you have, maybe a follow-up question to the first one you asked, I think you just have to hit unmute on Zoom, and you can definitely ask Lauren and Lisa that question. So give you just a second to unmute if you're ready for that, and we'll see if you're able to do that. I may have caught her off guard, so apologize if so. Jessica, just raise your hand if you're ready to talk, and we'll pivot over to you.
I don't bite, I promise.
All right, so another question that I've seen come in is, how do I find out which program to sign up for? Can I talk to someone? We've got that poll running right now. So if you want to answer that poll and just say, yes, I'm ready, you can say that and we'll have admissions follow up with you. Someone asked, I think it's Margaret, actually asked, we're in Minnesota. Does my child still write the state test, the MCA? I'm not sure if Lauren, if you're specifically familiar with, without looking this up, with Minnesota, but I'll pivot that one over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually do have one student that lives in Minnesota. She did not take the MCAs. She did a standardized test through us, and we provide, whether it be the Stanford test or something equivalent. She could have taken the MCAs, but she chose to do the Stanford test with us. I do know that Minnesota does like to see a standardized test. It's not always required, but it is recommended. So that is why she did the standard test with us. But if you wanted to do the MCAs rather than the Stanford test with us, then absolutely, that's okay.
Jessica said she was all set, no more questions. So I appreciate all of that. Thank you for that. If there's anybody else that would like to talk live, you can go ahead and just put your hand up. We'll try to get to you in just a moment before we wrap this whole presentation up. So I'll give you a moment to go ahead and find the hands up emoji on Zoom, and we'll pivot over to you for your question. So I think I just saw one come in. I've got to find out who did it. I think it was Christina. All right, Christina, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk. I think you just have to unmute and you can talk to Lauren and Lisa.
Hi, yes, how are you?
Good.
I think I missed this. I'm not sure if I missed it, but I have a child that could be autistic. Do you guys cater to disabilities?
Raise your hand, Lauren, Lisa. You guys want to take it? Which one of you? All right, we'll just go with Lisa about that.
Oh, sure, of course. Because we are, of course, serving virtually, depends on, of course, what your child's needs are. So as a home instructor, of course, our advisors are working to support you, making sure the curriculum that you're utilizing is going to be a great fit for your student. But it is more difficult to serve some of the students that have particular needs virtually. So you do need to keep that in mind when choosing this type of a program.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, and I think Samina, you had a question, and I saw the question in the Q&A as well. So I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk. I think you just have to unmute.
Yes, thank you. My name is Samina, and my question was, what is the main disadvantage with homeschooling with regard to getting into a competitive college in the future? And how does Bridgeway deal with that? How does it, prevent that from happening for the child to have any disadvantage going forward?
I'm going to take that to you, Lauren. Yeah, you're all set.
Okay. To be honest, I have never had a student have a disadvantage homeschooling and getting into a competitive college. All of my students, I push to make sure that they are taking rigorous curriculum. They're pushing themselves. And I've had students last year, I had one go to Brown in the United States. I've had another go to Stanford. So I've never seen or had a student with a disadvantage for homeschooling to get into a competitive college. All of our classes provide the academic support. We provide, the
Lauren,
transcript, and yes.
it glitched a little bit again. So I know you were saying really important stuff, and I wanted to make sure that she heard it. So probably you talked about Brown, you talked about another example, and then it glitched for like 2 seconds. So.
Yep, sorry. So what I was saying is I've never had a student that has had a disadvantage going to a competitive school, whether that be I've had students go to Stanford, Brown, UCLA. They've always been considered as just as well as any other student coming from a public school or a private school, because all of our students, they're coming from an accredited school and they're being provided with that rigorous curriculum and content to where they're just like every other student.
We also are dropping a link in the chat to our school profile, which has a list of at least, I don't know, dozens of different schools where our students have gone on to attend. So that's a good example. Over the years, we've kind of collected some of them. We keep it updating it every year as well. That's just some example. It's not a full list. It's just some of the highlights, maybe I'll say, of the different colleges, universities that students have gone on to attend here in the US. And I think internationally as well. I'm not 100% positive on that last part, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you can check that out there. I also want to call out, we have an elite program that is specifically NCAA approved. So if you're a family that has a competitive gymnast, ice skater, basketball player, whatever, that maybe they're doing so much practice that's consuming their time that they need a flexible education option, we can definitely help that student, and those students go on and get into NCAA Division I or Division II schools regularly. So
yeah, actually, let me add something on to that, because we used to have an open graduation, and I sat in the setting of the graduation and watched 16-year-olds that had finished their high school curriculum and were heading to their college endeavor. And I'll tell you, it was just near and dear to my heart to see the success rate and the drive from these individuals that were truly taking ownership of their learning and empowering themselves to be so successful, even at such a young age. So it's not even just that typical, I'm 18 and I'm headed to college and I want to get into the best college. It's sometimes students working well ahead of their typical school years and graduating early and getting a start on that college endeavor. Pretty exciting.
To add on to that as well, Justin, you mentioned students going to international universities. Just this last year, I have one student going to Cambridge and another going to the University of Valencia in Spain.
Well, there is an example of it right there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic, Lauren. I really appreciate that. If there's anyone else that would like to ask a question via audio jumping in, and while you're on Zoom, because we can't do it over on Facebook, I'm apologizing for that one. But you can go ahead and raise your hand and we'll consider you getting your question answered really quickly. I think there are a couple questions left, especially over on Facebook. So let me go through this here. Dana asks, my questions are, is the HOPE program appropriate for an international family? We live in Europe. How much time per day, week is the HOPE program would require? So Lauren, is that something you could take?
Yes, I just had to unmute myself. I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. So what it's going to do is it's going to create a sensory integration therapy with your courses. And you're going to work with somebody one-on-one to put together the schedule that's best for your student. I've absolutely had students that are international participate in the HOPE program. And when you work with that one-on-one person, they're going to create that schedule that's going to best benefit you, even though you're international, based on the time difference and everything going on. So I internationally would be no problem doing the HOPE program. What was the second half of that question, Justin? I missed it.
How many hours per day was the rest of the question, like per week? Would they be doing school, or specifically the HOPE part of the schooling?
Absolutely. So it's going to vary based on the student and based on the therapy program that's put together. I would say on average, a student is going to work 4 or 5 hours total per day. That's going to include your sensory therapy and your content for your curriculum and your academic work. But like I said, it is specific and individualized to each student, so it could vary a little bit.
Awesome. The next question from an anonymous says, can you go back to talk more about working full-time and homeschooling? Do you have any scenarios where you've helped families kind of organize that, or like what's the advice that you give a family that does have a husband, wife, or maybe just a single mom that's working all the time during the day? How do they handle that circumstance best?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I do have a number of families where either one or both parents or guardians are working full time. And one thing I always like to tell students, families, is I am there for them. So if the parent is working and the student has a question, they can reach out to me. Without that parent, I have no problem with them calling me, emailing them. I've helped students all day, when their parents are at school or not school, at work, or their guardians are at work. And we also, the nice thing too, is we provide for students who are busy, we provide and do all the legwork for you. So whether that be the instructor guides that Lisa has mentioned, our online classes, we help with schedules, how many assignments need done per week. We really help create that schedule. The only legwork is really going to be in the very beginning when you're putting all your courses together and you're putting that schedule together. I help families stick to that schedule, and I will set up check-in phone calls or emails saying, hey, how's it going? Are you staying on track? Can I help you with anything? And I've had some parents that are like, okay, please call my student every 2 weeks or every Friday just to say, hey, how's your class going? And I have no problem with that. It's my job to make sure that the students are, retaining and doing that work. That's why I'm there as an advisor. And for families too, I like to reach in and talk to the parents. How are you? Are you overwhelmed? What can I do to take some weight off your shoulders? You're okay. You don't need me to talk to you for a month. Okay. I'll call you in a month. It really is specific to each family. But the advisor really is there to help you really simplify the process. And like I said in the very beginning, that's really the legwork, putting it all together. But we provide all of the resources that you need. And throughout the process, when communicating with you, if for some reason there's something missing, we're going to provide that for you, and we're going to help you figure it out.
Thank you, Lauren. Got a couple questions on Facebook we'd like to answer. One left on the Zoom side of things. If you'd like to ask the question live, just go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom, and we'll make sure we get to you as well. The next question comes from Soha. She's like, can I enroll in a live program for only 2 subjects and other subjects have them be recorded? I think it's a great question. And I think probably Lauren is the best to answer this because you're probably dealing with similar circumstances right now.
Absolutely. So I do have students do that. So 2 examples. I have one student doing a textbook package. 5 of her classes are textbook, and 2 she has upgraded to our live online full year classes for say courses that she really needs that more one-on-one instruction. So she has, I believe it's her Algebra 2 course and her science course are live online. I also have online self-paced students do the same thing. You can absolutely purchase a self-paced online package and then upgrade to 2, 3 live online full year courses. So it's absolutely a possibility, and we can definitely customize and put that together for you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Gina, I'm going to go ahead and hit allow to talk, and I think you just have to unmute and you can go ahead and ask your question to Lisa and Lauren.
Hi, thank you. My son is not an independent worker. We're actually looking at the HOPE program. So once, the program is put together with a curriculum and the list of assignments, and sort of the schedule, I guess, do I need to sit there with him, for the 5 hours a day for each lesson? Is there something where, he can work independently, but it has to be taught to him. So can I go over the lesson with him? And then there's work that, he does, like a worksheet or something in a workbook. I'm not sure exactly how much of it is independent work versus, me sitting with him, or what are the options for that?
Can I ask the grade level real quick, Gina?
He is entering 4th grade, and he's on level as far as science, social studies, math, but reading and writing, he's way below level.
Okay. Is that something that Lauren, you'd like to take, or is that Lisa a good question for you?
Definitely start, and then I'm definitely going to push it to Lisa to put the cherry on top, if that's okay. So I do know with our Hope program, we work with somebody, her name is Amy Highland, and she puts together a full 9 month, I believe it's 9 months of a sensory integration therapy, where she's going to focus on the efficiency within evaluations. And she's going to look specifically at the core courses. So, you know, it's going to be your math, social studies, language arts, and what am I missing? Science. And so she's going to put that together, and she's going to help provide exactly she's going to work with the advisor to tell us, you know, the student needs, for example, Walsh history, or they need workbook courses, and she's going to help the student work through those courses. Lisa, I think this is where I'm going to ask you to put the cherry on top in regards to, say, a fourth grader, because I'm working with high school students.
Absolutely. And I taught fourth grade for many years. So of course that's near and dear to my heart as well. And I totally get it, Mom, Gina, about my kiddo could do it, but they need a little motivation and sometimes that guidance. I can tell you, you may want to check out our blended program. The reason I say that is it does deliver information to your student in an independent digital fashion, but then it also encourages your student to go away from the computer and read and write and build and explore as well within that same lesson. And what's nice about that blended program is it is a bit motivating for that reluctant learner, or somebody that maybe just needs a little bit of that support, where your son can actually check off those activities that are completed, and you can monitor that progress. You can see exactly what your student is seeing in their platform, and you are actually the first to see how your student did with one of their online tests and provide feedback, and we provide you with the tools to do that. But it does provide a calendar, and it says, hey, this week, this is what you're going to do in math and English, language arts, and science and social studies. And it's a way to kind of monitor that you're staying on track. And then, of course, celebrating if, let's say, you can get the work done Monday through Thursday, then you have Friday off, you get a long weekend, or you work in short periods each day where he's doing maybe math first and then take a break and then go back to science and social studies. And you can provide that flexibility too for a student who's, you know, maybe just needs that bit of a support, and you need some flexibility in your day to make sure that you're there providing that support. But that online digital platform might be a real motivator for your kiddo, but then also a way to kind of monitor that he's doing what he needs to do throughout the day and the weeks.
So
And I also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Lisa, when it comes to Hope, are we able to layer on Hope on top of the blended program, or
Yes.
are you saying specifically just with the blended program?
No, that, and as Lauren said, I'm sure Amy, who works with the Central Learning Institute in our Hope program, can provide that sensory therapy in addition to what the student is completing within that blended courseware. And you know, at fourth grade, if it's just too much to be completing math, science, social studies, and English language arts, there may be a time where you just focus on, I'm going to take math and English language arts and science for a few weeks, as well as that therapy session, rather than trying to overwhelm the student with all of those core content areas at one time. So that's always an option. And again, your advisor can talk with you about that and what fits your students' needs and the hours in the day to make it work.
Gina, did you have another follow-up question to that?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know if I was still muted or not. Yes, the blended program is definitely what I was looking at through the Hope part of the program, because I know that they do, I think, 4 or is it 5 courses opposed to, I think, 7. However, I think my concern is like introducing the lesson or introducing the subject, you know, because I can go over things with him and then say, okay, well, you know, here's the worksheet for this, and then, you know, he can complete it. But I think it's more so teaching a new concept. I think that's my concern, is the new concept approach of teaching it to him.
Right, and some of that is covered within the blended platform. We've created interactives that either present a video or another type of hook where the characters are talking with your student about what the concept is in math or English language arts, etc. That kind of gets them thinking about what they already know about the concept and learning about that new concept. And there is, of course, that new teaching opportunity from the textbook or that offline activity that is prepared for you, either with those teacher resources or the instructor guides to help you kind of guide that process. So you're not going to just be looking at your student textbook and trying to figure out how do I present this to my student. There will be some helpful resources that are provided for you as the parent, that homeschool instructor, to guide that learning.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah.
And Justin, if it's okay, I just wanted to talk about my blended program. And this is a great tool for elementary students with parents who are working and also maybe working in the house too, because like Lisa said, the blended program, it's going to provide everything with the support. It's going to help that student check off their items, schedule everything. So even if a student, I would say a lot of people have asked about, can I work and my students still be homeschooled? In elementary school, for that blended, that the blended is a great option for that, whether they're working within the home or outside the home.
Phenomenal. You guys are doing a great job answering these questions, by the way. Lorelei has this very long question on Facebook. It's great. We don't mind it at all, but it is a very long question. What will the school ID column say on the transcript? Lauren, do you know the answer to that? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so for students who are transferring credits in, the school ID is going to be the school where they previously took that class. If a student is taking it with us, it's going to be the Bridgeway code. However, if you are, say, a support student and you've completed a course approval form to bring in those courses, the course ID on that transcript is going to be Bridgeway Academy.
So the second part of this question is, we've been very eclectic homeschoolers forever, and we switch a lot to find different ways to teach the substance of what is needed. For example, we may do an edX class. I'm not sure if that's TEDx or just edX, but then we need something more. So we throw in Khan Academy, maybe switch to a book when we need to. It's not 100% planned out. Is it possible to complete a course request form with this type of flexibility? And or if not, will we receive a lot of detailed support in trying to fill out a course request form?
So yes, I have had students use edX. We don't approve courses specifically on just Khan Academy. I have absolutely had students use Khan Academy in collaboration with other things to put together the course in total. So yes, the advisor will help you put together that detailed course approval form. But yes, you can, a lot of homeschool parents want to put that course together themselves. And the biggest thing is we want to make sure that you are getting the full hours for the credit, but you're also hitting all of the topics and you're including all the content. So that's the biggest thing. If you're putting all that together and you're hitting every topic and every content area, Lisa, curriculum, correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as your student is hitting all of those standards in that class, the content, the curriculum, everything, then yes, that is fine.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest pain point is, as the accreditors of your program, we need that proof of the student's completion, of course, and of course their assessments, the oversight of that program. So in some of the digital options that are out there, which are fantastic, sometimes it's hard to get a report of what your student has completed or how your student has performed, which does cause an issue, obviously, in that grade reporting step for our academic advisors. So something to keep in mind with some of the options that are out there.
And then the final part of this question is, are you able to accommodate potentially untraditional courses? For example, piano performance or computer animation? And if so, how would we know how to structure the course to match your requirements? Lauren, it might be a follow-up to that one, yeah.
Yep. So I have had students do this, and as Lisa mentioned, we do have to see the course, the content completed, and for that accredited background of it. I've absolutely had students use, say, their piano performance as a music credit. However, I have asked for their lessons and resources to where, how many lessons did they have? How long was each lesson? What did they learn in the lesson? So that I'm able to get, that full hours for that credit. So yes, you can absolutely put something together in that sense, but we do need that, you know, in order for accreditation, like Lisa said, we need to see it. And whether that be the assessments, whether that be videos of every piano lesson, you know, something, but we do need that background for it. But yes.
Yeah, and we've even helped to curate alternative assessment evaluation rubrics with families because we love the unconventional, and we love that you're really exciting your students with those unconventional ways of learning. We definitely support that.
Thank you. I appreciate Lorelei waiting for a few minutes for us to get to that question. Really details there that we want to make sure we cover. So I see one question left, but I think Lisa's answering it in Zoom, and we have two in Facebook, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Alexandra says, is the blended program for elementary school an option even for parents working from home? How much involvement is needed? Can the student move through their assignments and online videos on their own? I'm going to ask this question to Lisa. We kind of covered some of this information, but I think this is a really great question. So turn it over to you, Lisa.
Golly, I was off answering the other question.
No, I'm sorry. I'll repeat it. The
I'm
part she
sorry.
says, is the blended program for elementary school an option for parents working from home? How much involvement is needed? Can the students move through their assignments and online videos on their own?
Yeah, great. And as I was mentioning to Gina, this is probably one of the programs that provides that motivation for independence, even for some of the youngest students, even at grade 2, because of the format of the computer program that your student is working through. When your student finishes an activity in their math class and leaves and comes back that next day, they press go and it goes right to where they've left off. So that's the interdependence that we want to promote in our students. There will be opportunities for your student to go away from the computer and of course have some time with you, as Gina was asking, for some of that direct instruction, or provide some support on how they're solving their math problems or manipulating materials to show what they've learned in their math. It's usually about 2 to 3 hours of work time per day, and that is covering all of those core content areas. Again, some of it happening on the computer, watching and viewing and interacting on the computer, and then time away from the computer as well. And I know one of the other questions is about that blended program and the assessments. Well, with that program, we offer online assessments that you as the parent would receive notification when your student completes to give them the first round of feedback. And then you of course have an academic advisor like Lauren following behind and making sure to provide feedback as well, and that oversight for the grade reporting. Or if your student does better with a paper pencil test, you have that option within that program to have your student complete the paper test, grade that test, and submit it to your academic advisor as well. So there's that flexibility and the understanding that kiddos learn in different ways and show what they learn in different ways. We've also incorporated alternative assessments into that program. So it may not be a multiple choice test that your student is going to show what they've learned. Instead, it's going to be building a project and being graded on what they've incorporated into that project that relates to what they've learned. So a lot of flexible options with that program for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. We had one question from Desiree that says, do you do a placement test for grade level? And I believe the answer to that across the board is yes. There are some circumstances where we wouldn't have to do a placement test, maybe based on the accreditation or the transcript where we're getting the information from. I'm not sure every grade level we always do the placement test at the beginning, but we definitely would have that as our normal process for almost all students. I'm going to go ahead and pivot it over to you, Lauren. You seem like you have another question.
Yeah, just to add on to that. So we do have students do our performance testing, grades K through 10th, 11th and 12th grade. They do not have to take the performance assessments. And a lot of times we can use them for placement. However, we really are looking to see how much content is retained by the student. That's really what we look for. So yes, absolutely, we can look for it and use that as placement indicators, but we also really use it to see how much is retained and to see, you know, over the course of a year or 2 years, how the student is taking it, because they are going to take it 3 times in the fall, spring, and winter.
All right, so I did see one other question pop up in the chat. Is the AP testing done remote, and who sets that up? Lauren, is that a good question for you?
Sure. So students set up the AP tests on their own. They can absolutely take AP classes with us through our elite program, but they're going to set them up through College Board, and they'll take them on their own. And then we can absolutely take those scores and put them on your transcript, but you would set that up on your own.
All right, so we're going to go over to our last question, and this is from Facebook. Alexandra asks, one more question about blended. Tests and quizzes will be done online in the platform. Grading will be done by the teachers or the parent. That actually is done by the advisor, not the parent. Parents do not have to grade in the blended side of things. And then how about the writing assignments? Are those done on paper and then submitted online for grading? Great question. Lisa, what about you answering this?
Yeah, it's actually a little unique. The blended program is actually built to support a homeschool setting. So you as the parent would get notification to oversee any assessment that is taking place online. And we did that purposely. We wanted you to be in control of your homeschool program, provide that feedback and oversight of the student's program, given the tools we provide for you to provide that feedback and assessment. And then your academic advisor, again, follows behind and supports that as well. For the writing assignments, we use grade rubrics, which really do provide all of those details that you would be looking for in any writing assignment for your student, from capitalization and other grammar and mechanics to their writing style, etc. And I know as an academic advisor, I often walked alongside a parent and kind of guided that evaluation so that they understood how to use one of those tools with their student, and even use one of those tools to promote their students' writing way before the writing even started, let alone then evaluating that student's writing. So again, it is a joint effort. We do provide you with the tools to do that oversight. With our blended live program, the teacher actually does the grading, and the parent is not responsible for any grading there, but just, of course, that oversight of the program. So a couple of different circumstances given that blended curriculum.
Fantastic. Wanted to call out one more thing before we call this a day. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. Thank you for joining us here in Zoom. If you would like an admissions team member to follow up with you, you can go ahead and answer the poll in Zoom. I think 20 of you have already done that. Actually more than that. So if there's somebody left that would like to do that, go ahead and get that taken care of now. If you're on Facebook and you're watching and you want to know, how do I do this? Just shoot us a message in Facebook. We'll take care of getting you connected there as well, or leave a comment. We'll make sure we follow up with you. But I wanted to thank Lisa and Lauren for taking time out of their day. We didn't necessarily plan for this to be an hour and a half. We weren't even planning to do that this week, but we had so many questions, and our admissions team had a lot of families asking some similar questions. So we thought we'd get on and do a Q&A and answer a lot of those questions ahead of time. So I really appreciate both of you joining us here. I think Lorelei just asked one more question, and I want to make sure we get to Lorelei here. So she says, I have one follow-up that I think is easy because I couldn't quite catch this part, but if I use records and support so that we can customize more of our classes and we fill out the course request from the way you would like with alternative assessments, will the school ID and the transcript say Bridgeway Academy? I think this could impact whether our local public school would accept this to transfer it in later.
Yes,
I think Lauren's got a yes, so we'll call that the last question of the day. And I appreciate all of you joining with us today. Thank you for being a great group and for jumping on with us and asking the questions. To Gina and several others, really a tremendous time to answer all of these questions. So have a great day, everyone. We're going to say goodbye. Thank you.